Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my Dune Awakening content. Oh my gosh folks, I am so excited. It is the weekend. I'm home. I'm finally out from underneath the thumbnail of the man, and I'm able to make some content about my passion, my love, Dune Awakening. Today in this video, I want to do something that a lot of people do all the time because it's a very popular type of video, but it's also going to give me a chance to go on and gush and talk about the things that I like about this game. So I want to make this video about 5 reasons that you should play Dune Awakening. So if we're going to start that type of a video, I definitely want to start with the number one option why I think you should play Dune Awakening. And if you're watching the content that I'm playing on the screen while I'm showing you this video, I want you to just look at the environment. I want you to look at the buildings. I want you to look at the design. I want you to look at the beautiful graphics in this game, because that's one of the reasons why I think you should play this game, is the fact that this game is developed in Unreal Engine 5 and it is beautiful. It's visually stunning. It's gorgeous. And I think that that's important for a lot of people, because a lot of people want to play a game that's pretty. They want to play a game that looks appealing, so that when they're playing, that adds to the immersion and makes them feel like they're really part of the world, because the world looks real. I have played lots of games in the past that are cartoony and things like that, and while those are great for what they are, I am the type of person that I really respect a game that takes the time to make their environments look beautiful. And as you can see from the vistas that we're seeing in this video and the areas that they're showing us, the design detail is everywhere. Everywhere you look. Look at that moon. I mean, that's amazing. The design detail in this game is top notch. There's a lot of things about developing a game in Unreal Engine 5 that will allow them to do some really nice things. It will allow them to have the abilities to quickly, rapidly develop the game, but also to do it in a manner that makes it look beautiful. A lot of times there's a lot of things that have to be procedurally generated to fill in spaces of the world and things like that. And with the tools in Unreal Engine 5, the developers have everything they need to make this game be amazing. Okay, so that's the first reason why I think you ought to consider. I mean, look at that. Wow, that's so beautiful. Even that simple scene right there of the sand between the gorge is just amazing. Wow. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why I think you should play this game. Now, the second reason, and these 5 reasons are in no order of importance or anything like that. It's just the topics that I want to talk to you about, that I'm really passionate about, that I feel are really good selling points for this game, and stuff you really need to know if you're considering, if you're kind of on the fence about playing Dune Awakening. Maybe these 5 areas will help push you over the fence and come on into the community. The next reason why I think you ought to play this game is because of the style that the game is built around. And when I say style that the game is built around, what do I mean by that? Well, this game, it's hard to classify what this game is because this game is kind of a mashup of a couple of real popular styles of PC games that are out there right now. First, you have the survival game type setup, and this is designed around games like Ark, like Rust, like Conan, which is another property that this company has made, so they really have some experience in it and kind of know what they're doing. But these type of games are those type of games that throw you out there in the environment and they say, okay, here's some tools to gather some resources. Here's some crafting abilities you can unlock to make stuff. Here's some skills that you can use to help you fight and get around the world. Now go and survive. And that's what a lot of people really love. I remember my most experience, and I'm sorry if you hear this all the time and you get sick of hearing about it, but Ark Survival Evolved and Ark Survival Ascended was my jam. For about almost 10 years I played that game, and I'm telling you, that was the experience that hooked me and grabbed me like no other has. I've been playing games on PC and on mobile for almost 30 years. I started in the realm of Ultima Online so far long ago, back in the annals of history when dirt was new, and that was the thing that kind of grabbed me, was that style of play with other people. And then when I found Ark roughly about 10 years ago, oh my God, it was on. I was hooked. I couldn't get enough. I quickly learned that the survival style game where you hoarded your resources and you gathered your resources and you built your character up and you built your house and you built your things and you played with your dinos and you bred your dinos and do all kinds of fun stuff was my jam. I mean, that's what I loved. And that style of game is what Dune is based around. Conan, same thing. Rust, a little bit more hardcore, but similar in the fact that you're trying to survive. You're either trying to survive against the environment or you're trying to survive against other players. And we'll kind of cover the distinction about that here in just a little bit, but that's the main style of game that this is built around. Now, it's kind of 50-50 in a way, and the other style of game that this game is built around is stuff that a lot more people are probably familiar with. They're familiar with the MMO style play or the massively multiplayer online game, where you are in an environment with lots of other people, you interact with each other on things like questing areas, groups to quest with, combat that you have with each other, marketplaces that you can sell and trade, buy and trade. And that's the other style that's matched with the survival style. So it's a survival style game, and then it's also an MMO style game. Best example I can give you that everybody knows, it would be something like World of Warcraft. That's a game where people go in with lots of other people, they make their character, they do the quest lines, they adventure, they learn things about the world and an overarching story, and then they, fight group content together with their guilds and that kind of thing. So it's about the experience that the designers have made and your interaction with it, either solo or with a group. And that's the two kind of styles that this game is built around and kind of shoved together in sort of a 50-50-ish mix. If I was to break down the percentages, I would say it's roughly about half and half. I mean, a lot of the game centers around survival and your struggle to acquire those resources and build up your wealth, your personal wealth, and then the rest of it kind of centers around exploring the world, doing content, interacting with other people in a MMO type space, massively multiplayer online game. So that's the second reason why I think you ought to give Dune Awakening a try, the type of game style that it is. Now, with that said, that's the perfect segue into the next two reasons why I think you ought to play Dune Awakening, because these are what the playstyle is built around. The first one would be that it has amazing PvE capability. Now, when I say PvE, what do I mean? A lot of gamers are aware of that icon and they know what it means. It means player versus environment. This game is designed to allow you to live that lifestyle if that's what you want to do. If you're somebody that doesn't really want to engage in combat with other people and you're not really down with that whole sweaty try-hard mentality of trying to, kill everything that moves and be the king of the heap, then the PvE lifestyle may be for you. And this game offers you the ability to live your life in that manner the whole time you play. That's just how it is. There's a large section of the game world or the map that you're on called the Haga Basin. That's your starting area, and that's where you're going to live your PvE life for the most part, if that's what you want. You can gather resources, you can build your bases, you get the opportunity to build multiple bases in this game, which is super cool. You can go to places like what's shown right there, Arrakis, as a player hub, where you can interact with other players and see people running around and looking at the exchange and all that kind of things, buy, sell, and trade. And you can do things like quest givers, NPC content, to where you go do quests for NPCs in the game and they will reward you, unlock skill paths for you, a rich, deep storyline that ties into the Dune lore, which if you're somebody that is a Dune lore nerd like me, you love that realm, and the story that's built around that in the game will be amazing for you, because it will be an experience where you get to experience that life of Dune and be part of it, take part in it. That's something that we really haven't had the ability to do on this scale before, and that's one of the things that makes the PvE content so nice in this game, the way it's designed. So PvE, the acclamation of wealth, the adventuring of the story, the exploring, the building, the interacting with the economy, the interacting with other people in a guild type setting or, a friendly type way, is amazing. And that's the third reason why I think you ought to give Dune Awakening a try. If that sounds like something that would be right up your alley, then the game is designed around that to allow you to do it, and you need to know that. Don't be fooled by a lot of those content creators that say, you're not ready, this game's going to whip your butt. If you want to play the PvE lifestyle, this game is designed to allow you to do that, and you don't have to worry about not being able to do content because of the lifestyle you chose. You will be able to do everything in game, period. The next reason why I think that you ought to try to play Dune Awakening if you're interested is because of the PvP mechanics that are built into this game. If you're somebody, and what do I mean by PvP? Well, player versus player. That's the lifestyle of a person in game that's interested in engaging in combat with other humans. Playing against the AI is fine for those people, but they're more interested in testing their skills against other humans, because humans in a game environment are so much crazier and more adaptive than AI, it's not even funny. So when you're battling a human and you're battling an AI, there's a big difference. And if you're somebody that engages in PvP, you know how that works. So this game is going to give you the ability to get all that you want. There is a section in the game called the Deep Desert, and it is where the majority of the PvP interactions take place. It is a section of the overall map world that is huge. I've heard it described before and compared to being about the size of New York City. If you were to actually try to compare it in terms of size to something in the real world, so that we could kind of get an idea of, how big it is. So that right there is a huge amount of landmass. What that does is that allows you a place to go where anything goes. You can fight anyone, anybody, at any time. You can even fight your own guildmates because there is friendly fire, and you can even fight people of your own faction. So if your guild was allied to the Atreides, or if your guild was allied to the Harkonnen, then you could go there and you could role play that battle between the two factions if that's what you choose to do, because a lot of people want to immerse themselves in that roleplay type of experience but still do combat against other people. You could also attack your own, because one thing you have to understand about Dune and Dune lore is there is such a thing called the right of salvage. And what that means is it's on, baby. Anytime, anywhere, you can have PvP in the deep desert. So If you go to the deep desert, you better be aware and ready of that. So there's lots of reasons, though, that the deep desert in this game is more innovative than a lot of other games that I've seen. And I have to talk about this because this mechanic on the PvP side for this game is amazing. One of the things that's really groundbreaking is the way that the content is going to be reset every week. So one of the developer diaries, they talked about their plan for resetting the deep desert every Tuesday, because they said they've looked at the log of the concurrent players and when the activity cycles and spikes are, and they've determined that what they want to try to do is take the content that's in the deep desert, all the points of interest, all the dungeon locations, all the resource locations, all the structures that players have built in the deep desert, and every week, which they're saying they're going to do it on a Tuesday right now. They may have to change their mind after they see the actual load of, release date player base. But their plan is, no matter what day it is, that content all resets once a week. When it resets, a thing called the Coriolis storm comes through the environment in that area, and that sandstorm is so powerful and so massive that it wipes the landscape clean. What it does is it resets all the points of interest, puts them in different locations. Maybe there was a dungeon here on this rock outcropping and now it's been filled in with the environment and you can't get in there anymore. But that's okay, because 50 kilometers away a new one is opened up, and now you have a new fresh experience from just what you had last week. So that makes that play area fresh and new all the time, constantly. And that's what these type of players really appreciate, because they're people that are engaging with each other and out there fighting for resource points, out there fighting for that best location to farm this gear from this quest hub type area, and they're having to battle against other players to do that. And it's great for a little while, but a lot of MMOs tend to get stale. They tend to lock themselves into a design direction and stay that way for a year, before any new content is released. And what happens? Players get bored. They churn through content so fast that they will completely destroy a quest line in a matter of days. And then they're just kind of like, same old thing. I go farm this over and over again. This mechanic is going to keep that content fresh. Because every week when you go into the deep desert after the reset, guess what? You now have to scout to try to find those new locations before everybody else, so that you can tell your guild where they're at, and you guys can run out there and farm those locations real quick before anybody else knows they're there. You go out and you find those super sweet spice blows and resource node locations where you can go out and get some resources before people realize where they're at, and start setting up fob bases or bunkers to protect those type of resources, and then you get into huge fights over them type of thing. You go out into the deep desert when it resets, and you create maps based on all the points of interest that you're exploring. And then, how innovative is this? You create a map through your scouting mechanic and through a probe mechanic that you shoot up in the air, and it reveals secret locations that then apply to your map that you're making, okay? And that, if that's not cool enough in and of itself, then you take that map and you can sell it on the market. You can sell it on the exchange, and now people have a way to actually be part of the economy using the PvP mechanic area that they love. And or they could give that to their guild mates. You could have a scout party for your guild that goes out into the deep desert after reset and, makes a map real quick and then brings it back, turns it into the guild, so that your PvP squads can then look this information over and quickly decide, okay, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, we're going to set up over here, we're going to try to get this before anybody else does. That adds a life to the game. That is something that is just, I don't even know how to say what I feel I'm a loss for words. It's innovative. It's so creative, because if you've played MMOs before, you know that a lot of times when people churn through content and it gets stale and it gets old, the player base kind of dies off for a while, and only the diehards are still left logging in every day, and everybody else that's just kind of short attention span has kind of lost their desire to play, and they're just basically waiting for new content. And then when a new expansion drops, boom, everybody hits the game again, and everything's fresh and alive and new and bustling activity everywhere, and then they churn through that content, and then it starts to die off again in a month. Well, this is that mechanic on a faster and smaller scale that allows the content to refresh and be fresh and new every week, so that players get that endorphin hit when they're like, ooh, it's time to go explore. You know, the developers of this game have come up with a gem here, and that plays into the PvP lifestyle, because then that gives those players something fresh and new every week, some new obstacle to surmount, to be able to be out there in that environment and profit from it. Everything you can loot and get from the environment, you can sell on the auction house or the exchange. So that's another reason why this playstyle can be very lucrative for people if you're interested in this stuff, because the rewards are there. Now, one thing you have to talk about when you talk about a PvP or a player versus player lifestyle is the looting rules. A lot of people ask all the time, is this game full loot in the PvP areas or not? Because they want to know whether or not they can take other people's gear, but they also need to know whether they're going to lose all their gear, because when you're a PvP minded person and you go into an area that's PvP enabled, you need to know that pretty much everything you're carrying you need to expect to lose because that's what's going to happen. But in this game, that mechanic is just a little bit more forgiving, to where when you die, you only drop your resources that you were carrying, and you drop some or all of your coin that you were carrying. So your actual Solari, the coin of the game realm, if you're carrying any of that, you drop some of that, and then you take durability damage on your gear, but you do not drop your gear. So you do drop a bag out in the world, and if you're lucky enough, if the player that kills you doesn't decide to corpse camp you, and you can actually respawn and get back to your bag and they don't take it, then you can get your stuff back. But the majority of time, you know, the right of salvage is going to kick in and they're going to take what you dropped, because that may be one of the reasons why they're there in the first place, is to get resources and wealth that way from other players. So that's kind of the thing about the looting rights. Now, there is one caveat or exemption to this whole process, and that is a political system that's built into the game called the Landsrad. The Landsrad is an ability once a week for players to be able to participate in a bingo style system where certain quest givers from certain factions will allow them to do certain tasks for them, to hopefully then allow their faction to win the Landsrad for the week. When they do win, it's been leaked to us by the developers that a couple of the type of abilities that you can enable for the whole game world as a whole are things like reduce crafting costs for a week. So things may cost 25% less resources. I don't know the exact total, I'm just throwing that out there for an example, but through your ability you can set that for the whole player base in the game on your map. And in regards to PvP, it's been said that the players can also then decide to make the PvP area of the deep desert full loot option for the week. So that right there is going to be very interesting for PvP players. They're going to try their best to get that option chosen so that they can then take everything. And that's the only way that we know of to lose all of your gear, except for one other type of way, and that is if you are eaten by a worm. the great sandworm, Shai-Hulud, it will happen. They will eat you at some point. You will get eaten. It's going to be some of the best content on YouTube ever. I cannot wait. But if you get eaten by the sandworm, you lose everything. So every speeder bike, every sand bike that you were on, every scrap of gear you were carrying, every resource, every currency, everything. You lose it all with no way to reclaim it. Does that sound harsh? Yes, but it is in keeping with the Dune lore. Nobody survives getting swallowed by a sandworm, so yeah, if you get swallowed by a sandworm, you're done, bro. But anyway, and that is the fourth reason why I think you should play Dune Awakening. Now let me talk about my fifth reason, and this one is a personal one for me because I am an economy nerd. I love in-game economies in these type of games, and that is the fifth reason why I think you should play this game. It is the exchange, the Chom exchange. Through the exchange, you have the ability to affect the economy as a whole. Okay, there's going to be thousands of players that are interacting with you on the map that you choose to call home, and everybody is going to be buying, selling. They're going to be harvesting resources and listing them on the auction house for sale. They're going to be trying to make their fortune in the resource market. They're going to be trying to make their fortune by flipping blueprints and high-end crafted items so that they can, expand their personal wealth and make their fortune. Just the fact that there is an exchange, and just the fact that during the exchange use it allows you to sell anything that you get or make in game, that's amazing. The ability to be able to interact with other people in this manner can be a whole game in and of itself. I'm not gonna lie, I am that big of a nerd that I have played games just because I loved the economy. And I'll give you an example. EVE Online was a game that I did that with. I played EVE Online for about 1.5 years, and the main reason why I stuck with that game was because of its economy. That was something that when I got into it, I just was hooked. I couldn't get enough. I was that guy that was funneling resources around, trying to flip this and flip that for a profit, taking that profit and then turning it back into something else, trying to find things that players wanted so that I could capitalize on the market, trying to find those strategies and those little, awesome items on the auction house that people listed and didn't realize their value, and then I bought it and turned around and sold it for 15 times what I bought it for, type of thing. That is a game style and a play style in and of itself. So for somebody that's an economy nerd like me, that's my fifth reason why I think you should play this game. And also because there are so many special niches that are built into this game for players to find and take part of. And a lot of them have to do with the interaction with the exchange. A couple of those things that I'll bring to mind real quick so that you'll know is the ability for people that like to build. They can create unique and awesome base styles with a lot of flair, and then they can turn that base build into a blueprint that they can then take that blueprint and list it on the exchange or give it to their friends or whatever, but list it on the exchange for sale. Another player can look at that blueprint and say, ooh, I recognize Mirandus's name. He builds some really crazy structures and I want to see what this is about. They can buy that blueprint and then take that blueprint out to an area of the world and make a land claim with it and throw that blueprint down, and it will set up a ghost base for them to be able to then put the resources into, and it will build that base for them in that design that you set when you made that blueprint. How awesome is that? How awesome is that the game gives you that mechanic to be able to express your creativity in that manner and then turn around and sell it? There were lots of games like the Secret World and stuff like that had really innovative auction houses and player exchange systems that made those games feel alive because of the role you could fill on the auction houses and the exchanges that gave you a way to play. The next thing that I think that's really innovative that I want to add to, and I've kind of talked about just a little bit, but the ability for players to be able to go out and scout a land region and make a map that they can then fill in with points of interest that they've found. They can make it as detailed as they want to spend the time experiencing, and then they can turn it into a map item which they can then take and put on the exchange and sell for other players to be able to use in game. To now they know the area because this player has made the map and sold it to them. You can also give it to other people, but using the exchange is what I'm trying to get across in this point. And just the ability that players have that ability to do that, that's freaking wild, man. That's crazy. And that's something that I have wanted in so many games that I have played in the past. I think the only game that I really remember that was going to go into this, but sadly that game never launched, was a game called Mirandus. And it was a game that was going to go heavy into the cartography skill that would allow players to make maps to then sell. And that was when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. That's something that I would really like to do. Because who wouldn't, you know, when you're done doing some PvE questing, and you've decided that you're kind of bored with that for a minute and you're kind of done with the PvP for the week or whatever, and you just had your belly full of that and you're ready to just do something different, then you can go out and explore and make a map and then turn around and make some profit on it selling it. How cool is that? I mean, really, think about it. So that's the fifth reason why I think you should play Dune Awakening. The exchange and the marketplace abilities that you have are just truly awesome, and they're going to be able to expand your gameplay and enrich your gameplay in ways that other games don't. So these 5 reasons, like I said, were in no particular order. They were just things that I really feel passionate about. And I obviously feel really passionate about Dune Awakening, and I hope that some of that love and that passion wears off on you while you're watching this content, and it makes you want to play this realm. If you enjoyed this video and you liked this content, please think about subscribing to my channel and liking the content so that it can get pushed out to a wider audience. Obviously, I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to expand in the realm of making content, and I would really appreciate your support in that manner. That would mean everything to me, and it would be awesome. Thank you. If you like this content and you want to make sure that you know when I make more, then go in there and tick that notification bell as well so that you will be notified every time I upload Dune Awakening content. And I just want to tell you thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. I know you had a million other things you could do on a weekend, but you chose to spend it with me, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching my content. I will see you in Dune Awakening, hopefully soon. Open beta will be probably in the next couple weeks, we feel, and we'll get our chance to more of us get into the game and test it out. And then on June 5th is when the early access release starts for 5 days, and then the official global release for everyone else will be June 10th. So as of the making of this video, today is the 19th, so we don't have very long to go. It's coming sooner than you think. So watch this content, love this game, and I'll see you in the next video coming soon. Talk to you later. Peace.